It's Monday morning, 6:30 in the morning here. Just so you know, Mondays through Fridays, I have a client at my gym on my property at 5:45 a.m. So I wake up every morning, Monday through Sunday at 5, just out of routine. And I started doing these lives every day about 2 weeks ago, and I would do them a little later. But I find it fits my schedule going live right after my 5:45 a.m. session. I'm awake. Hope everyone's doing well wherever you are, guys. Like this video. Let me know where you're tuning in at, and we're gonna cover, as you can tell, in this last weekends of boxing. But I mean, our week was a long week because on the channel I cover not just the main fights. I cover as many as I can. So we started in Yokohama, Japan on Wednesday, and then we worked our way from Japan to Mexico to Vegas, and we finished with Caleb. Yes, Ed, Caleb screwed me. Cedric Walcott. And the problem with Caleb is that in that loss, for me personally, I'm going to be as transparent as possible with you guys. Just so you know my intentions with why I do this. I was more disappointed in him losing, not because I lost my bet, because if you guys listen to me, you guys lost. And also, I'm super competitive. In anything I do, I'm really competitive. And I don't like, I put a lot of work into my channel. I'm not just going to pick a winner or a loser based off of odds or I know a lot of guys will pick a fighter from America because they like the American fighters, or a fighter from Mexico because they like, that's not how I roll. Everything on paper. You guys saw the lead up. You guys saw their careers. If you picked Rescendes, and if you did pick him, I tip my hat to you. But I'd like to see on YouTube the content creators, because I know some big guys pick Rescendes, but I'd like to hear their film study on why, rather than, oh, I picked Rescendes because of the odds, but after he wins, you guys will say, oh, I told you Rescendes was win. He was a smaller guy, he was a younger guy, and he was going to outwork Caleb. Nobody said that. But if you tuned into my live with Gary a couple days ago, I did say I wasn't sold on Caleb being world class. Yeah, of course, Shob has put 50 on Rescendes. He probably put 50 on Rescendes because he doesn't like Caleb. But if he did, cheers to him, mate. I'm not hating on him. But if you've tuned into that live, we were breaking down, Gary and I, and Muscles, the Caleb Plant fight. And I said I was taking Caleb, which I did. But I also said, if you heard, I said I wasn't sold on Plant as a world-class elite guy in terms of resume and, even what he's done in his career. You never know with these fighters. I heard Garcia had hand injury. He did say that. And Garcia lost. I've been biting bullets lately. I didn't bet on Plant. Goat, my man. It's good to have somebody in our community who didn't do that. What's up, Goat? Guys, wherever you are, like this video. I got about an hour, so we have a lot to talk about. We could talk about our winnings. We could talk about our losings. Yeah, Plant said last night he had a hand injury. How much do you want to take with that? Guys, I felt Plant didn't lose because of his hand, and maybe I'm wrong on this. I felt Plant's game plan, he lost on his game plan. He lost on, we usually know Caleb is a guy who makes adjustments throughout a fight. He never made those adjustments. And I don't want to say he took Rescendes lightly, but the way Plant was fighting, he wasn't fighting like a young, hungry fighter. He was fighting like a veteran who could use his skills and his experience to get past the hungry guy just to get the Charlo fight. That's what I saw. I saw a Caleb Plant who was trying to cruise, and by the midway through the fight, it hit him that he was like, oh, no, I can't do this against Rescendes. Rescendes, they call him Toro for a reason. And even though I lost, out of my last 72, and we got receipts, out of my last 72 money line picks, I'm 70 for 72, because I know some of you guys have been asking. The 2 money line parlays I've lost, Josh Taylor, Caleb Plant. And those ones sting. But either or, we got a new week. The good thing about boxing, guys, is we don't have seasons. It's all year round, and we got a lot of boxing. We'll get to that later, but I will be uploading a video, a fight breakdown and analysis of a fight going down this week in England and Newcastle. One of my favorite fighters to watch. He's not one of my favorite fighters, but one of my favorite fighters to watch is fighting. And Josh Kelly. This was a guy who was promoted, maybe a future world champion. Things just haven't gone his way, but he's still fun to watch. He's a big favorite. I'm just going to do due diligence and give him and his opponent some justice and do a breakdown on that fight. But, for all the fights we were right about, it's always the ones we're wrong about that we focus on. And I think that's how I was raised, guys. playing high level sports my whole life. There was a story. Josh Kelly did pretty good last time out. Yeah, he looked good. We always, when we think about PBK, we think about that David Evanesian fight. And then, when Kelly came over to America and he was the highly touted prospect and favorite, and he fought to a draw. I think that was in New York City. And Evanesian then went on to beat him. But he's made some, he's just fun to watch. I like what he does in there. He's artsy. I like movers in terms of, like, he's not only a mover, but he's a scrapper. Reflex fighter, hangs on the ropes, does all that. Pretty fighter. But the purists of the sport will hate him on him because Josh takes way too many shots that he shouldn't take. And, as a coach, that kind of gets frustrating. But, we hit on all the other fights. We were spot on with Yenli Hernandez. How good does he look, dude? Oh, my God. Did you watch the Yenli Hernandez versus Kyron Davis fight? Dude, Yenli Hernandez, when that high guard he does, and he's fighting like here, when you see guys with high guards walking their opponents down, Hernandez does it in such a unique way because he's doing it fighting on his front foot, which we already know in this modern era of Cuban fighters, that's such a rare thing to see a Cuban guy walking their opponent down on their front foot. But he's doing it to counter, and he's doing it to be aggressive, to force you to make decisions. And he just bullied Kyron. And, I know everybody gives a lot of praise to Breadman. Breadman had a rough night. I was watching Breadman's advice to Kyron Davis in that corner, and I think he should have stopped that fight. I mean, that's just me. Kyron Davis was getting beat up. He took a lot of damage. And some of the advice Breadman late was, just, hey, Johnny, hope you're well. Help me understand your winning strategy because I don't see it. I went heavy on this card, blowing my 2 betting accounts now due to plans fight. Victor, my winning strategy, Victor, is to study the fighters, study the fights, and pick the one that I think is going to win. There you go. And that's my strategy. I'm not ever going to pick, I'm not going to pick Resendez over Plant and because I didn't think Resendez was going to win. It has nothing to do with the odds. This past week, though, there were so many widespread affairs that on the money line, you had a lot of $7s, $8s. I was thinking about putting money on Coe money line, Beck money line, Hernandez versus David. Yeah. Finish your thoughts on Breadman. Yeah, Breadman's a hell of a coach. I just felt like when you have a fighter who is down on the cards against getting beat up the way Kyron was getting beat up, where he's at in his career, I was expecting Breadman to give Kyron Davis more tactical advice. He was just trying to, pep his fighter up. But I was expecting, like, all right, he's coming at you with a high guard. You need to feint a little bit more. Or when he fires that right hand, circle to the left. Or Kyron, circle away from his power, get to the middle of the ring. Things like that. Use your feet a bit more. His feet were getting static. And, Breadman knows his fighter better than I know him, obviously. But he wasn't, the part of the role of a coach in a corner is as that fight starts pouring downhill and you're losing, you need tactical advice. You don't need a motivator. He knows what's at stake. That was my only beef with him. You were playing... Nah, Kyron beat Garcia last time out. I thought Breadman was wrong and didn't. Yeah, easy wrong. Same thing, and I was going to get to that. And Breadman cornered Kyron, and he's Plant's coach. And, I'm not, because I'm a coach too. Obviously, I'm not a professional athlete coach, but people pay me. They rely on me to help them get healthy and guide them to live a healthy lifestyle. So I'm not bagging on Breadman, but I think as a professional and as fans of the sport, it's okay for us to analyze and critique somebody's performance. It's not just Breadman's fighters that you have to critique. You have to critique the corner as well, not to mention the judges scored it right on. Oh, dude, we should have lost that Galaz fight. We should have lost that Galaz fight. I must have been thinking about someone else. Yeah, I think Caleb Plant, for instance. I mean, if anybody here knows the sport, midway through that fight, there was some critique that you could have gave him. He kept getting countered on the inside. He kept trying to fight Resendez on the inside in the middle rounds. Whatever it is, if his cardio wasn't there, which we always say, and it was fading, that's not anyone's fault but Caleb's. And he has a lot of miles on him. He's been in some wars. He took a lot of shots, but when you're not winning the infighting, you need to change your distance. You need to change your range. You can't just stay there. And he was pot-shotting too much. And also, he was super predictable. Guys, did you watch the fight? How many times did Caleb go for the Anthony Durrell combo? It was like all he was going for, to where, like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, he would stay there, he would throw like a head feint, and then he would duck to the body, he'd hit the liver, and then he would finish with the lead hook up top. It's the same exact combo that he knocked Durrell out with. And Resendez studied the tape. Resendez, that's one thing I want to give to him, not just the heart that he portrayed, or even his endurance and his conditioning that he portrayed. But you could tell he studied Caleb. You could tell where he fought Caleb at inside, that he did his due diligence. And you could also, yeah, easy route. And you could also tell Resendez always kept that right hand here. Some coaches will say, keep your hand on the phone here. Lead hook to the body, lead hook up top. I've seen that too. Go. He threw it how many times? That's all he would throw. And then me, because I had Plant on my combo, on my parlay, I was cheering for it. I was like, come on, Caleb, you could land it. He tried it over and over. Yeah. And Resendez wasn't falling for it. Kyron Davis beat Elijah Garcia, who beat Jose Resendez, who just beat Caleb. So would Kyron beat Caleb? I mean, Kyron's a good fighter, guys. Kyron's a good fighter. It's a great question. As of now, where we sit, I don't like predicting, unsigned fights, but it's something to think about. Kyron's no wash, and a lot of guys on my channel and people in the comment section were saying that Kyron Davis was going to beat Yenli Hernandez. I watched a lot of Yenli fights, and I knew he wasn't going to do it. Can do this? Yeah, I'm breaking down Junto guys this week. They are insanely one-sided, even though Nishida is a dog. Nishida is one of the best in the world. I think BoxRec has him ranked right below Junto. Right now, the odds right now, my book has Nishida as a 5-1 dog. Plant blew my parlays. Yeah, Plant over his head, thinks he's way too good. Carlos Vargas, there's something there, you know what I mean? And it wasn't, I felt like Plant's game plan was to just cruise to get to Charlo. You know what I'm saying? What was his game plan? After the first 3-4 rounds, after Resendez caught him, I think it was in the 6th round, Resendez wobbled him, and I'm thinking like, damn, Plant's gonna get knocked out against Armando. But he didn't get knocked out. The round, maybe he got saved by the bell. Maybe there's another 30 seconds left in that round. Maybe Resendez does finish Plant. But after that, yeah, he did. After that, you didn't see a game plan. You just saw he would. And guys, how amateur did it look like when Plant would try to engage in the clinch? The last thing, dude, this is like day one stuff when you're sparring. You never reach out for your fighter. How many times did you guys see this when Plant is trying to cut the distance and engage in the clinch? He would reach his arms out. He would extend out. I saw that like 2 to 3 times, and I was thinking to myself, wow, Plant looks really like base level right now, because you would never see a world-class former world champion do that, expose their body, expose their chin by reaching out like that. You never see that. You see that shit at the local gym with the weekend warrior sparring. What's up, Jesus? It's Sunday to you. It's my Monday morning. So wherever you guys are, like this video. My bookie has Nishida plus 685. That's insanity. Yeah. So right now we're at, yeah. So he's plus 550 in Australia, and Junto is 114. I'm definitely breaking that fight down, guys. There's a lot of fights. Jai Apatai is fighting this week. I might get to tension. We got Keyshawn fighting this week. Right now, De Los Santos is a 5-1 dog against Keyshawn. Abdullah Mason's fighting. We got that top rank card. The last 2 top rank cards, I know everybody in my ethos has won, so we get lucky on top rank. Kelvin Davis is in a tough fight against Albright. That's like a 50-50. An Ohio guy that I cheer for, Tiger Johnson's fighting. Third Mexican to beat Caleb with an aggressive style. That's the game plan, guys. He built for sure. If we know now, based on resumes and history, pressure forward style, Mexican style beats Caleb. And he didn't make any adjustments. He didn't fight him on the outside. He fought, and Resendez was doing all the work. He outworked him. Who else? Fabio Wardley's fighting against Justice Hooney. Right now they have Hooney as a 3-1 dog, even though he was a late replacement. And like I said, that first fight I'm going to cover, we're going to be uploading to the channel, is the Josh Kelly fight. I've been doing good on the money line lately, but either fighter will be knocked down. Keyshawn fight seems like an easy lock. Yeah, GOAT. And after, I won a lot of money on Wednesday in Japan, and I won a lot of money in Mexico on Friday. So I'm going to start researching, and in this week, I have to make adjustments too on my parlays. I'm going to stick to my money line approach, but I'm thinking about making an adjustment on how much money I put towards these, and start kind of researching the over and unders more and stuff like that. Because I didn't start this to be a gambler. My whole purpose and intention with my channel is to give the fighters their due diligence and to promote fights that a lot of guys aren't promoting, and to be fair and not one-sided. So even with fighters, I mean, how many people were breaking down? Think about how many fights we break down on the channel that you're not going to see broken down. That's my whole goal. An outcome of that knowledge is us talking about where we're putting our money, and that's fun too. But I think the over and under, a lot of you guys do good with that. The knockdown rule, I know a lot of you guys won money on that. It's just that I don't have a lot of experience betting money on those bets, but you know, we all have to evolve in one way or another. Let's see where else we hit. Yeah, Charlo. I hit Bruno Cerrose, Rescendes versus Bruno Cerrose. Yeah, I mean, Rescendes has a lot of options now. And guys, that's the other side of the game, is that when you see a guy like Rescendes, when you see his family going crazy, when he was headbutting Plant, dude, he literally threw. I did a documentary years ago on a sport called Lethwei. It's out of Myanmar. It's basically Burmese boxing, and it's bare knuckle, so it looks like Muay Thai, but you're allowed to headbutt. You're allowed to do that and use the head. It's called the Art of Nine Limbs, right? Rescendes looked like he was in a Lethwei fight. He headbutted Plant like maybe 5 times that I saw. So after the 7th round, when the ref warned him, came to the corner, and you saw his corner yelling at the ref, that's how much it meant to Rescendes. His one guy in his camp was screaming at the ref, don't let him take this from you. They want to take a point. They want to take a point. Don't let him take this from you. And when you see a guy like Rescendes, who's that big of an underdog, his family's ringside, his corner is fully all in, he's hungry at 26, you gotta, yeah, agree. That's why I didn't take a point. I'm glad. I'm not a big point deduction guy. I don't like when the ref becomes part of the outcome. If anything, you know, I wish, in a perfect world, I wish the ref could, you know, be a little less active. Obviously the ref is needed to make sure the fight is a fair fight, but when they start becoming part of the commentary, and you know, 2 rounds, 3 rounds are all about what the ref is doing, that's when they're doing too much. We shouldn't even notice the ref. That's what you know, as a young kid, what's up, boy, Don Julio? As a young kid in the gym, you know, that was kind of the narrative, at least in the 90s. It's like, you shouldn't even notice the ref. You know, box your fight. And sometimes the refs, their actions will get into the fighter's head. You'll see some fights. We were watching a fight this weekend. Almost every exchange, one of the fighters would look at the ref. And it's like, I forgot what fight that was. I think it was, yeah, it was the Bektemir. I thought that was gonna come back to Burn Melikuziev, because the Bektemir DFG fight, if you rewatch that, there were so many moments where there'd be an exchange and Beck would look at the ref, and he was looking for them to intervene. And do you think age played a factor for Plant? Kyle, you know what? One of my coaches always says, it's not how old the model of the car is, it's how much tread is left on the tires. So age isn't more important than age. It's the miles. And I think that's what we saw with Plant. He's only 32, maybe 33. Yeah, I don't think it's age. I think it's the tread on the tires. And I think Rescendes is better than we thought. Dude, these are both pro athletes, guys. Rescendes, you know, he looked the part. He was in immaculate shape. His game plan was off the hook. You know, you don't have to. It's not an excuse, it's reality. Yeah, Kyle. It's not, it doesn't take a genius to see the game plan you have to portray to beat Caleb Plant. It's easier said than done. And the day after, it's easier for people to say that Rescendes should have won. That's what I find shocking. The people, obviously, 4 days ago when I broke down Plant and Rescendes on its own, go to those comments. All these, I told you, tell me you're a casual. Tell me you're a casual without saying you're a casual. They're commenting, and I just comment back, yep, I'm a casual. Like, it's so much, my point is, it's so much easier to wait for the outcome and then act as if we were all experts, or act as if, you know, somebody else was bound to be wrong. But I just didn't see it. I didn't see Echo. I didn't see, but guys, we do have, moving forward, some common denominators and some data to take with us in future fights. Think about the common denominator with Echo Essuman beating Taylor and Rescendes beating Plant. You know, some of those things are a lot of, you know, the tread on the tires. And I'm not just saying age. Rescendes did well, don't get me wrong. Yeah, he did do well, man. And, you know, by the end of it, and this is the type of guy I am, if you know me, what's up, Rich? If you know me personally, if you're friends with me, if you're my family, you know how loyal I am. And, you know, I don't take life too serious. So I'm not a negative guy. I'm not an angry dude. So there was a point in the fight, even though my parlay was going to get wrecked, I was kind of cheering for Rescendes. It's a weird thing to say. Even though I picked Plant, all my money was on Plant. I wanted to be right. I wanted to show you guys another winning ticket rather than my losing ticket, which I showed you. But it got to a point where I was like, it was tough to cheer for Plant in rounds 9 onward. When you saw that Caleb wasn't making adjustments, when you saw Caleb's lack of game plan, when you saw his body language, and that's what it hit me around the 9th in the corner. I was like, he didn't come here to do enough to win. I'm just gonna stay away from, yeah, right? Goat 100%. If it's $1.06, why am I putting, yeah. But then again, man, I did not think PBC. I did not think when they said it was a split decision. I go, oh my God, we're about to get a gift, because I did not think that they were going to give it to Rescendes based off of the whole card, guys, was built around Charlo and Plant. We know how corrupt boxing is, and that plays. You got to factor that in when you're gambling. I mean, for however, whatever adjective you want to put there, yeah. Whoever said Plant was winning, and Plant said after he won 7-5, which is wild work. For Plant to say he won 7-5 was crazy talk. But, whatever adjective you want to fill in the gap with, that you want to call this next bit, we as bettors take into consideration the full narrative of the event, right? I lost my parlay as a Plant, but I'm glad they didn't rob him. See, exactly. Plant. Exactly, and you guys are veterans, man, and you guys know the sport. And we don't really get a lot of casuals on my channel. And if casuals do come on the channel, they don't stay around too long. And so the longer you're in the game, even if somebody ruins your bet like Josh Taylor or Caleb Plant, you kind of are like, man, I'm glad Estimon won, or I'm glad the judges got it right with Rescendes. Ethan Theodore, that's what you made 800, man. That makes me happy. Thank God you didn't listen to me. Thank God you didn't listen to me, because, I mean, I thought 100% I did, worth Big Hooney. You know what, Chopper? 100%. I'm doing that video. Maybe when I'm doing Hooney and Wardley, I just need to make sure that I'm not being biased because I'm in Australia. I really respect you bringing up your competitiveness with film study and predictions. We coming back strong. Yeah, AJ. And I take it so serious, guys. I'm very competitive with everything I do in my life. I appreciate you guys. I put that into this channel too. I'm never just going to pick bets just because the odds. Even though the last week we had a lot of $8s, $10s, what ethics would I have to pick an underdog to ruin your parlay just because they were an 8-1 dog? You know that. So to clarify, some of you guys were asking me in the comments after we lost the Plant fight, and I told you guys, I was like, a lot of my parlays this week look like that. But if you go 2 weeks prior, we hit a 22-1, we hit a 15-1, we hit a 12-1. So it just happened to be all of these matchups and wagerings were so wide. That's going to change this week. Yeah, Wardley versus Hooney. Mate, and Goat, I'm learning a lot from Goat on my channel about, knockdown parlays and over-unders with will the fight go the distance. Yeah. Whoever pulled the trigger like Julio is great. I know a lot of you guys won money on live betting. I love hearing stories like that. So remember, guys, the longer you stay tuned to my channel, when you watch my edited videos, when you watch my fighter versus fighter breakdown, just because I give you my prediction on who wins in that, you guys still have to watch my live streams to when we're building our parlay, because I don't always put those winners on my parlay. For instance, do you think Justice experience will come into play? I think Justice has a lot of variables I'm going to get into in my film study. I've been watching Justice his whole career. So my point, Cedric, beast. I love that you yeah, Cedric's an animal. Helping my channel out, giving us a lot of insights on how you do your thing. Where I was getting at with that is, like last week, even though on my fighter-to-fighter breakdown on my edited, produced videos, I picked Bekdamir to beat DFG and I picked Gallegos to beat Ko. But if you would have watched my live streams, I didn't put them on my parlay. So just keep that in mind. How significantly different is your film study for heavyweights? Yeah, and I'm learning. So the heavyweight division, I got to be honest with you too, what I've realized, I'm not that lucky lately with rematches either. like the last few rematches, the last 2 rematches I've covered, I lost. So I write everything down. I have stats, I write everything down. So the last 2 rematches, I'm 0-2. So when I see a rematch, I'm going to tell you guys. I lost the David Allen, Johnny Fisher rematch, and I lost the Gallegos Co rematch. So I need to make some adjustments with what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing. Any early on Albright Davis? Go. I brought that up. Albright's a tough out, mate. Albright is a tough out. One advice for the future: trying to send the receipt of the bets a bit earlier than usual. We're still gonna watch your live stream. De Los Santos underdog 50 bets 500 bookie. Yeah, I can't bet heavyweight, man. Margin for 100% AJ. That opportunity. The issue with heavyweights, when they look good, when the fights end short, we look great. But there's not a lot of volume, and when they go, I got De Los Santos for the upset. I'm scared of same thing, because with the heavyweights, not a lot of volume usually. They have an opportunity. One punch could change everything. You don't really know. Very unpredictable. Very unpredictable. Guys, wherever you are, like this video. It is going on 7 a.m. my time, Monday morning in Sydney. So I have an 8 a.m. I'm going to power lift at 8 a.m. I have a client who comes just to deadlift. So we're going to deadlift at 8. I'm then going to edit and upload the Josh Kelly breakdown. And I'm going to go live again later on this morning, which if you're up for it, it'll be 11 a.m. my time, which I think is America at night for you. I'm going to go live again to talk about in detail the fights we're covering. This is still about this past weekend. Albright's in it. Yeah, guys, and I think if you look, a lot of people are asking about that Albright fight. And if you're looking at the odds, man, the odds, I'm big on Keyshawn, Ethan. I've been covering Keyshawn's whole career. If you go to the Calvin Davis Nahir Albright fight, that's a 2-to-1 fight right here, right now. I don't know where I'm going to go with that. I don't know. Just looking at the odds, I'd have to say it's 50-50, but look at the resumes. I have to sit with that fight, and we got all week, guys. We're going to be giving you I'm gonna be studying this in detail. I think Tiger Johnson's a lock. Delonte Johnson is an Ohio guy. I'm a bit biased. I've been covering Tiger for the last 2 years. He looked great last fight. I can't believe you got your ass whipped by Charlo last night. What do you talk? I can't believe you. Oh, how dare you, Tommy LaManna? Yeah, Tommy LaManna, boy. I'll take it, dude. Yeah, at this stage of the game where I'm at in my life, you can't offend me. I grew up with, I come from the era and generation where we grew up clowning each other. So we'd have things called roast sessions in front. Dude, we would win a basketball game in high school, and on the bus ride home with the cheerleaders, if you didn't score, we were getting at you. My boys were ruthless. If you got C's on your report card, we're getting at you. And we were the athletes. We had to get good grades, or my boys and I would clown each other. So I grew up clowning. Do you ever get mistaken for a slut? When I was younger, I used to always get called John Travolta. When I was younger, in my 20s. When I lived in LA and Vegas, people were like, old women would be like, "You look like John Travolta." I'm like, oh, thank you. My grandmother once gave me the best advice. Rest in peace. She passed away a few years ago. My grandmother Jenny said, "Johnny, no matter who compliments you, always take it as a compliment because one day you'll stop getting them." So whoever wants to compliment me, I'm going to take it. With boxers afraid of being called a runner, what if Keyshawn walks into something? I wouldn't call Keyshawn, man, I wouldn't call Keyshawn a runner. I don't know, man. I think that's a false narrative. Watch Keyshawn, I'm fucking with you, Johnny. Travolta, yeah. Gold member, yeah. I always get that. Watch Keyshawn. You know what I think the best thing for me to becoming a Keyshawn fan was watching those last few events in Norfolk, Virginia. Because we know sometimes, guys, look at Gallegos, home cooking doesn't always, look at Josh Taylor, home cooking doesn't always mean a victory. Not every fighter could step up with the pressure of fighting home. Did you leave? No. I left Ohio in 2002 to go. I left Ohio in 2000, went to college at the University of Pittsburgh, then played minor league baseball in South Carolina for a season, moved back to Pittsburgh, and then moved to Long Beach, California for 6 years, and then moved to Vegas for 2 years. That was a racist comment. You guys are out of your mind. Keyshawn, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would not say Keyshawn's a runner. Look at look at the guy Keyshawn has turned into. Keyshawn's a dog. I like watching Keyshawn. Yeah, I know. Whoever, if you guys want to debunk false narratives, we could do that too. I'm all about that as well. I like debunking boxing narratives, and nobody is spared. I don't have allegiance to any sort of region. I mean, ethnicity. I have allegiance to boxing. So people just saying Keyshawn is a runner, you're just misinformed. That young fella, he's the real deal. Edwin De La, what true brother? Ethan. Edwin De Los Santos, take this however you want it. De Los Santos' style is going to bring the bet. So minor league, at the time, Cedric, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, there was a short season league. So at the University of Pittsburgh, we'd get out of school end of May. So from June, basically from Memorial Day to Labor Day, I'd play short season in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Myrtle Beach, how did Keyshawn do it? Quitting weed is hard. Yeah, I quit weed out. Dude, I used to smoke a lot to fight for Tiger. It is a type. I mean, you'd be. I used to roll blunts. Munguia watching the steroid sandwich right now. I know the Canelo memes. You guys seeing the Munguia and Canelo memes are hilarious. It's crazy that the boxing media shared that meme. I don't know. It was either boxing scene. Don't get me wrong here, or maybe some of the bougie boxing news or boxing 24. They did an article and they shared the meme of Canelo and Munguia. It was AI at dinner eating meat. I thought that was just super disrespectful. Yeah, in my head, I'm thinking, I live 2 hours. Oh, Sumter. Dude, I love the Carolinas, man. Now, granted, I was in the girls used to wear, this is how old I am. I used to live in Carolina. The year I moved down there, the state flag of South Carolina was half the rebel flag and half the palmetto flag. And then I think in 2002, it changed to my favorite state flag, the navy blue with the crescent moon. Google the South Carolina state flag. It's the best state flag. That navy blue with the crescent moon in the corner. But when I got there in the early 2000s, it was still half the rebel flag, which is insane. And I remember my dad giving me advice when I went down there for the summer. He goes, Johnny, he goes, don't be going down to South Carolina bragging about Ohio, talking all that shit. He was like, they didn't, they don't believe in the same things you believe in. And I get down there, and man, the nicest people in the world. I love my time living in South Carolina. I spent 2 summers down there, so I never lived year round. I went 2 summers to play baseball. I lived right off the 501 in these apartments called oh yeah, that Tiger Park. That I saw it on a documentary. But Cedric, I lived right off of the 501. These apartments called River Landing Apartments on the Intercoastal Waterway. Right behind this plaza, they used to have this pool hall called the Smokehouse, and a burger shop called Ron John's Burgers. There was an apartment complex right behind there, and I used to do some dirty shit in Myrtle Beach, man. I'm not even gonna get into it on this live stream. But yeah, when I was younger, I was wild. I used to do some wild stuff. I wrote about it in my first book, actually. Dirty Myrtle, dude. The girls would wear these shirts that say "Carolina girl, best in the world." Talk like this, Carolina girl. Yeah, I love my city. Sumter is the only place in the world where we have all 8 species of swans. Dude, I was telling my girl, swans are dude, swans are so mean. My neighbor in Ohio had a pond and she had swans. I was more afraid. Yeah, I'm a diehard Indians fan. Yeah, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan. I have an Indians hat right there. Those are 2 Cleveland Indians hats right there. I could tell you the starting, dude, Cleveland Indians, we had the greatest teams in the 90s to never win a World Series. We had 8 out of 9 All-Stars in a starting lineup in the late 90s. I don't want to butcher this, but left field, Albert Bell, center field, Kenny Lofton, right field, Manny Ramirez. At third base, the year I'm talking, we had Matt Williams. At short, we had Omar Vizquel. At second, we had Robbie Alomar. At first base, we had Jim Thome. We had Sandy Alomar catching. The thing we lacked in the 90s was an ace. We had Charlie Nagy as our ace and Jose Mesa as our closer. We blew it against the Braves in 95. We blew it against the Marlins in 97. Don't get me started. Yeah, Kenny Lofton should be in the Hall. Yeah, guys, I only report on boxing, but I grew up playing. I could talk about football, baseball, basketball, MMA. I'm a nerd, dude. I'm a lifelong athlete. I've been covering sports. I've been writing about sports since college. Both of my published books are interviews that I did with a lot of athletes that I wrote about. But yeah, diehard Indians fan. There's a couple guys on those teams that should be in the Hall. Kenny Lofton, man, when you look at Lofton's numbers over his career, when you look at how he played center field, especially in the 90s, mate, other than, who else was playing that position like him? Ricky? You had Ricky Henderson playing center like that, but, not a lot. What about beer pong? I was a killer at beer pong. In Pittsburgh, we had a game called Pyramid, to where you have your beer pong table, and it's like a pyramid, but you build it up. So you have the pyramid here, beer pong, red cups, and then you go diamond, a small diamond. At the top, you have one single cup. So if you hit the bottom layer, you have to drink the bottom, this, and this all at once. That's dope. Johnny, I'm trying to learn more about sports myself. Yeah, ask away. I know, 2016. Dude, I don't even want to talk about that game because in the game before we lost, we were down in the 9th inning and we hit a home run with 2 outs and 2 strikes to send it to, I think, game 6. I was at my gym in the city, and I'm watching it on my laptop. And Sydney's a very quaint, like, no, I wasn't a frat boy. I just played ball. In my day and age in college, if you were a frat boy, no offense to anybody, we made fun of the frat guys. Yeah, this was, granted, culture was different. In the early 2000s, in college, the frat guys were dudes that like paid money to be in the frats. I was playing ball. So it was a different thing. I went to their parties and hooked up with the chicks. But I wasn't in a fraternity. Nah, I had my own group of friends. But yeah, we were down 3-1. And I don't know. Oh, mate, that was a tough pill to swallow. And, it gave you guys a World Series. The curse of the GOAT out, right? But Cleveland, we haven't won a World Series since, I think, 1948. So the Indians haven't won a World Series since 48. The Browns since Jim Brown. And the Cat. This is why LeBron is so beloved in my hometown. So I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. An hour south, an hour northwest is Akron, where he's from. So we're from right near each other. LeBron is a legend where I come from and will always be talked highly upon because what he did for the sports fans. He brought us a world title. Yeah, 2016. He should have won a few more in Cleveland too. If Kyrie, mate, one of the biggest letdowns, which we've had a lot in Cleveland sports history, if Kyrie would have stayed in Cleveland with LeBron. Kyrie, in my opinion, that Kyrie is why we won the title in 2016. That shot he hit against Boston, mate, we don't get past Boston without Kyrie. No, I don't. You see that? You see the ukulele? You see the I don't play it. I used to play reggae. I'm not only a big Kelly Pavlik fan, he's one of my close friends. I grew up with Kelly Pavlik. The people who follow my channel are sick of me telling you guys. But yeah, Kelly and I grew up playing Little League Baseball together. So we met when we were 7. So me and Pavlik have been friends since we were 7 years old. Now, I love LeBron. I'm a diehard. Well, when LeBron left Miami, I hated him. But when he came back, I have a song request. This ain't when LeBron came back to Cleveland, and then we won a title, lifelong. Man, that dude, his mom, yeah, LeBron's a beast, dude. Especially the team. Look at the team he took to the finals when we got swept, I think 2007 against the Spurs. Our starting lineup in 2007, he took to the NBA Finals as his 5th year. We had Ira Newble, Sasha Pavlovich, we had Larry Hughes, and Zydrunas Ilgauskas. He takes that team to the finals. It was insane. What's your parlay look? So, Carlos, I'm going to wait until the odds get a little bit better. I usually won't start building my parlay on paper till my Wednesday, your Tuesday. Yeah, we all hated him when he left because it's how he left for Miami. He had the press conference. I'm taking my talents to South Beach. But I could reason with him on that, LaFleur. Yeah, but I mean, that's the sport. People when you play so long as LeBron and you have so much footage to watch, people are going to be haters. Look what LeBron did. Look how LeBron played early, the first half of his career before he went to LA. Not 1, not 2, not 3. Did anybody pick? I don't know, man. People were saying they picked Rescendes, either picked them because the odds were so different. Nobody I saw breaking film down. This is different. Showbiz might have picked Nagy was an ace, James, but come on, Nagy, think about the aces in his era. When you compare Nagy to guys like Greg Maddux, Tommy Glavine, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, he wasn't comparable. You can't put those in the same Michael Jordan or LeFleur James. Come on, Michael Jordan, man. No, Jordan's the GOAT, and I'm a diehard Cavs fan. 1989, I was 7 years old. The first time I cried because of a sports game, I think it was game 5 at Richfield Coliseum in Cleveland. Craig Elo was guarding Jordan. We just went down to take a 1-point lead. I think Elo hit a little bunny, and it was the famous shot. It was the shot that propelled Jordan and the Bulls to go on their first three-peat. You can watch this in slow-mo on YouTube. We're up by 1. Jordan's at the top of the key, crosses Elo up, raises, and as he raises, all the Cleveland crowd is up like this. And then as that shot goes through the net, Jordan jumps like this, and the whole crowd falls. Heartbreaking. I had to cry under my kitchen table so my dad wouldn't see me. And my dad always told me, he was like, and we're diehard Cleveland fans. We hated the Bulls. But as a young kid, he'd say, Johnny, watch Michael Jordan give post-game press conferences. Watch how professional he is. Watch what Jordan, because guys, in the 90s, Jordan was one of the only ones wearing suits. In all of his post-game interviews, he's suited up. He has the one earring. He's clean and pressed, professional. My dad always had an eye for that stuff, and he was like, watch this guy. Watch how he carries himself. That guy's a winner. So you know, that being, and maybe it's my generation, even though, you know, LeBron's close to my age, I'm like a year older than him. There, I'm 100% sure it gets the job done, right? 100%. It's me. 100. I was 110% sure that Caleb was getting the job done. He was professional, yeah. And so there's a lot of little idiosyncrasies about Jordan as a player that, mate, if you have a son, if you have young athletes, watch how that guy carried himself. First one in, last one out, sort of thing. Kobe adopted that from him. If you read Jordan's book, written by his coach Tim Carver, it might be he talks about that. Hey, now, hand speed, we can't always be 100%. Yeah, showbiz is always 100%. Dude, I want to see somebody break down the tape, though, before the fight happened, analytically, with a boxing eye, and tell me they took Rescendes not based on the odds, or not based on Plant, not liking Plant. Because I don't buy that. Everyone could get lucky, but when you look at the odds on paper, when you look at the whole event, there's no way Plant should have lost that fight, and I stand by that. He lost. Kudos to Rescendes, and congrats to everyone who picked Rescendes, but he shouldn't have won that fight. LeBron's mom, yeah, I know. You got, dude, go easy on her, man. She was 15 when she had LeBron. Think about that. LeBron's mom was 15 years old with eyes like showbiz. I know for a fact. That fool's a fool. He's a little bit fruity for me, man. Sorry, not fruity. That's the wrong word. I mean, I guess where I come from, man, he acts a certain way. Plant pulled a Ryan. Plant fucked us. Let's not get it twisted. All right, guys, it is 7:11. Wherever you're tuning in, thanks for sharing my Monday. Eccentric, but he's also, yeah, I mean, hats off to showbiz, man. Hats off to showbiz. I'm not a hater. It's not in my nature to hate. 40, wherever you guys are, tune in, like this video. If you got any more questions about the fight card, I'm gonna start building my parlay tomorrow. With fruity, you mean very hyper. We know you don't mean it. And, yeah, you know what I meant. Lack of better adjectives. You know, like when you're, was pretty funny. Gold member, yeah. I mean, I guess we all have different standards of how we carry ourselves. You know, it's different. I don't judge anybody, mate. He kills the game. He's doing a great job. There are things that, you know, I'm not gonna ever say about boxers that some people do. That's where I stand with that. Shakur laid it to him. I'm a big Shakur Stevenson fan, dude. The Indiana fan sleeping. If you were a diehard Indians fan like me in the 90s, Charlie would break your heart. When we needed him the most, he'd get shelled. Don't even get it twisted. Look at the record books. When we need Charlie to win a game one, he'd get shelled. He'd be out of the game in the third inning. He'd win like 18 to 20 games throughout the season and then get shelled. Did it every time. We had to bring in guys. We had to bring in 58-year-old Oral Hershiser in 97. We had to bring in 92-year-old Dennis Martinez because of the lack of faith in Charlie Nagy. Don't even get me started. Keyshawn losing will be a huge help. Guys, let me finish a point on that. Keyshawn, yeah, Mike Coppinger's a fool too. That dude says some out-of-pocket stuff. For guys to talk about boxers who have big platforms and they talk recklessly, like ignorantly, negatively about a sport that they've never been at a high level at or that they don't even train, that is wild to me. And things like that people have gotten away with that too long in the sport. And that's my biggest grievance with showbiz is that there's one way, and this just comes down to ethics. And I'm not gatekeeping here. This is just how I roll. I don't like leaning in on guys who have to bash fighters who lose just to prove a point. That's it. That's where we see different. Other than that, we probably see eye to eye in a lot of things. And but yeah, I think Edwin De Los Santos is a match made in heaven for Keyshawn in terms of their styles. I think De Los Santos and his fans think that he's somebody else, and I don't think a lot of people really know who Keyshawn is. I think I know who Keyshawn is as a fighter with his skill set. He's a guy who has the skill set, the overall game, but he's getting that confidence. Think about who he's hung around with in the amateurs, and think about who he's been mentored by. I'm bashing. So when you think about who's been bringing Keyshawn up, you know, he's always around Bud. He's always around Shakur. These are world champions. And so you guys know, if you've ever been in a locker room at any level, there's a pecking order. There's a pecking order of who the big dog is and then who's next in line. And it's an unspoken thing around mates. And this goes back to when we were young kids. right? So when you have Keyshawn in lower and he's kicking it with all the big dogs, learning all the life lessons, being around these multi-level, multi-division world champions, the last thing he's going to get is that confidence that they already have. And Keyshawn's getting that confidence. And that's why he's a dangerous fighter. Avoid main events. Yeah, Daniel, same. Same. We can say, oh, dude, I don't want to talk about it. Stay tuned. Was rocked by Rayo's weak ass. I don't know if Rayo's weak. I like Rayo Valenzuela. Everybody, the world was high on Rayo until Gary beat him up. And go back and check my receipts. Everybody was dogging me because Gary was coming off a loss against Puello. Rayo just won a world title. And I told you Gary was going to beat him and stop him. And you guys were calling me idiots. That's on my, go to my prediction playlist. So Rayo, just because he lost to Gary doesn't mean he's a weak puncher. Rayo's still young too, man. One of my favorite fighters is Rayo. But I don't think I think Keyshawn is yeah, I think he's gonna stop De Los Santos. But that's not my prediction yet. Let me do the tape. Let me revisit it. You know, inactivity plays a part. I like how active Keyshawn's been. Puello's style was horrible. Yeah, and Puello can box, guys. Puello can box. Alberto Puello, he's a slick southpaw. He's going to tear up Matias. Puello's going to beat Puello should decision Matias. Best decision for him was being able to knock down Keyshawn and go 12 rounds. Yeah, I haven't been able to look at my method of victory, guys, or my prop bets. The one thing about my sports book here in Sydney is they don't even open the prop bets until midweek. So maybe that's why I've always been focused on the money line, because I cover all the fights. Yeah, I cover all the fights, and my first optic of all these matchups are just the money line, and I've been winning on them. But yeah, we got, like I said, I'm going to be editing and uploading the Joshua Kelly fight just to start the week off. We got fights in England. That card is in Newcastle. There's not any other fights on that card I think I'm going to cover just because of how active we got Nakatani fighting. I have a feeling Matias would do something that would be absurd if he didn't change his last loss. I just don't think Matias can at this stage of his career. I think we know who Subaru Matias is. The Canelo fought the retirement. Lucero, Charlo, Rescendes fought similar. Yeah, activity is huge in this game, man. Staying active. And what do you guys think of Charlo's performance? We haven't even talked about it. You know, he stopped Cornflake, but we talked about it last week in the build-up. And, you know, I picked him to stop LaManna. But if you haven't already, yeah. So Canelo's Floyd's son. I'm doing my video on that this week. Hughnie's the underdog. I think what he has, if you've never seen the Aussie fight, he could fight. So I'm going to be breaking that down this week. What'd you guys think of Charlo? He did look flat, and he looked stiff to me. His feet looked wrong. His body looked wrong. He was playing with his cornflakes. He didn't look sharp. Well, when we think about sharpness, got hit when he fought too reckless, though. You think he had a great performance, Canelo? Like, if I'm going to say a fighter had a great performance, I'm going to use that word great to compare what his best performance had looked like prior. What, in your opinion, look at Charlo's career. What's his best victory? Start there, and then use that performance on how he looked against LaManna, and I wouldn't really necessarily call this great compared to this. Yeah, for announcers to say that, it's insane. The announcers are so disrespectful in boxing. It's insane. And it's kind of like people die in this sport, mate. I mean, we just saw what happened with Taduran and Shigoka. Anybody get any word on Shigoka? Is he still in a coma? You know what I mean? Things like this happen. And that Charlo would get worked by the J-Rock Charlo. That's what I'm saying. So you get what I'm saying. So I can't speak about it. All right, there you go. I respect your opinion. The businessman is me. Exchanging with Edwin could be dangerous. Odds are way too far. Going to be a fight for... Yeah. So, James, I feel you on that. I think moving forward, some of the boys here are going to be looking at that stoppage prop. Maybe a round over and under prop. J-Rock or Sergey. Yeah, one of those. And you know, people were high on J-Rock. I like J-Rock. I like him as a fighter. I watch his fights. 7:20... We'll stay on for a couple more minutes, see where you guys are at. But, yeah, you know, we're going to be doing another live today, uploading another fight. I got 7 fights that I'm going to get to, and I maybe will have time for more that I'm going to get to in my production. Because those videos, those 10-minute videos with all film study and editing, I do all my editing. It takes me about an hour and a half per video, maybe 2 hours, for only a 10-minute video. Yeah, Shigoka. And with that just happening, and we know the history of boxing, it's wild to hear announcers talk shit about fighters. I give Charlo a C. Yeah, I give Charlo a C as well. I would give him a C. He did what we wanted him to do. We thought he would finish LaManna. I'm glad he. Daniel, could you? Who's headlining the Canadian fights, Daniel? Because I'm on my betting app right now, and let me check it out. And I did a post last night. Let me know who the headliner is, and I'll pick those fights. Charlo looked better than people expected, but we all know they should have stopped LaManna. Yeah, LaManna's a domestic level fighter. Look, every time LaManna stepped up, he lost. Cody Crowley comes back. I wouldn't have, yeah, damn, poor Cody Crowley. I forgot about that. He had eye surgery. That was right. Crowley was supposed to get that fight. But, yeah, I didn't, let me know the Canadian question, and I'll get to you. I do as much as I can here. But right now, Joshua Kelly, Fabio Wardley, Tiger Johnson, I got to cover just because he's my boy. Abdullah Mason's fighting. Keyshawn Davis. And then you got the Japanese, Jaya Patel, Junto Nakatani. Albert Ramirez. Okay, he's fighting. See, that's a good fight. I have to put that in my notes. If I really hustle, I could get to that. But just remember, guys, when you watch, if you watch my recorded content, just because I'm picking winners, I don't always put those on my parlay, so stay tuned. The Body Snatcher passed away today. So I'm reading that comment. Many fighters haven't fought. Okay, Marvel and Beast and Love. Yeah, one of the OGs in the fight game, the Body Snatcher, passed away this morning. Rest in peace. I just got a notification. Abdullah Mason versus Nakatilia. Yeah, Shakur embarrassed Nakatilia. Was Nakatilia a world champ, or did he have one of those regular belts? I was out for Beer Soloff and Nagini. I don't know why it got canceled. Yeah, that's a good matchup. And that's why fights getting canceled. That's why I try not to look, you know, I stay in a week-to-week focus. May was a great month for us. I won a lot of money in May. Didn't end the best for us. But, you know, when you look at the week, we hit in Japan, we hit in Mexico. We just lost the plant fight. But there's a lot of fights that are closer odds that I'm going to change my tactics a bit this week for my parlay, so stay tuned. Guys, I got to run. I got a client. I got to go deadlift. Let's get after it. Everybody who picked Rescendes and won money, congrats. Everybody who listened to me, who won prior, congrats. And if I lost you money, I'll do better. I do my best, guys. So I'm sure you're checking info from other channels. Keep doing that and keep holding me accountable too, because this is all a learning process. And stay tuned to the channel. I'll be back.